Hello and welcome. Now, as part of our social protection series, which we've done throughout July, all the Thursdays in July, today we are looking before we leap, and we are looking at leap. Now, for the past 20 years, social protection and interventions have been treated almost as the newest international fad. Unfortunately, women, children, and disabled and indigents have suffered for it, as they have been the hardest hit by the global food, fuel, and economic crisis of the late 2007 and 2009. Now, national statistics indicate that poverty has been halved ahead of the 2015 deadline, but figures from the 2010 population and housing census don't seem to agree. In reality, people's lives have also confirmed the widening regional and urban rural disparities in the poverty reduction effort. Now, as I've said earlier, social intervention is nothing new to us. What makes LEAP unique to the world is that aside from direct cash payment, beneficiaries are also provided free health care through the National Health Insurance Scheme. Eligibility is based on poverty and having a household member in at least one of the three demographic categories: single parent with an orphan, or vulnerable child, elderly, poor, or person with extreme disability and unable to work. Great stuff. But how does it work, and how long will it last? Is it reaching the people it should? I have questions, and I hope my guest has answers. Felix Logan works directly with the Ministry of Gender, Children and Social Protection with specific attention to LEAP. And he's also heavily invested in the people who need help most. My name is Nana Ansakwa, and this is PM Express. Well, social protection, something very sentimental, and sometimes I don't even know if you have to treat it as a job, or if you treat it as something sentimental. How do you detach yourself? Now, there's a lady called Aisha who lives somewhere up north, and every evening for her to send her 4 children to sleep. Now, these 4 kids, she's a grandparent, they're all orphans. She has to boil hot water, put some chili in there, put some salt in there, and then the kids will just drink it just to quell their hunger before they go to sleep. These are real decisions some people take. Sometimes it's unbelievable that really, but this, just hot water, pepper, and salt. Now, so for a lady like that, she needs help from you and I and the state in which she belongs. And that's where Felix Logan comes in. Felix, you're welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
Felix is also the head of operations for LEAP.
Yes.
Yeah, the Ministry of Gender, Children and Social Protection. And I say it's 12 ministries in one.
That's why it's a ministry for the people.
No, I think that just sums it up, the people's ministry. First of all, let's just start, I think I must commend Ghana, because we bash our country a lot. And to have a program like this that reaches out to those who may not be able to help themselves, I think is very commendable. And so, kudos to you guys who work in this department. But first of all, let me just find out, what is LEAP? And then we just, move on from there.
LEAP, as we mentioned earlier, is an abbreviation that stands for Livelihood Empowerment Against Poverty.
Okay. And how would one benefit, how do you determine? I mean, I could be dressed sharply, but I could be really, struggling.
The program itself is one of the programs under the social protection strategy of the country. And then LEAP seems to be the flagship one among the other social interventions. And so for one to qualify for LEAP, there are processes.
Okay.
We have, first of all, what we call the geographical targeting. And that is, there is a map that determines the whole country, the boundaries of Ghana, and that has indications on which region is the poorest, which community or district is the poorest, and that community, these households are the poorest. And so for one becoming a LEAP or beneficiary of LEAP, first of all, the program look at the geographical setting of Ghana, where we said the 3 regions of the north, and then Central and Volta is coming up the GLSS result. And then we...
So the 3 north,
yes,
Central, and Volta.
Yes.
They are trailing behind.
Yes, they are trailing behind.
Who's the richest?
So far, you know, where we have the resources and
so
the forest.
Accra.
No.
Oh, so Kumasi,
Ashanti.
the Ashanti.
Not Kumasi per se, but then if you
Ashanti.
take the whole Ashanti and then Brown Hafo, you realize that they have much of the, and then Western more because of the recent oil. And then that also shoot up. So the map identify, or already there is a map that shows the poorest areas of the country. And so LEAP, first of all, identify these very poorest areas. Then in that particular region, let's say, for example, the north, then we identify the poorest district within the districts of the north. Then we use, we have a structure that has to do with the District LEAP Implementation Committee. Then we have Community LEAP Implementation Committee. And so the District LEAP Implementation Committee consists of the other stakeholders that work with the people in terms of education, health, agric, has to do with the NGO, civil society, traditional areas. They form up the District LEAP Implementation Committee, which in the LEAP term we call DELIC. And so DELIC sits down together with the District Assembly planning team to determine the poorest community that they have within the district. So, you know, we have several communities within the district. So in identifying the poorest community, then LEAP now administer mean test questionnaire to these communities, giving them the category of people we are looking for. And actually, you mentioned earlier, we're looking for the orphan, vulnerable children. We are looking for the people with severe disability without any productive capacity. We qualify it. Severe disability without any productive capacity. Then also aged above 65 plus without any source of support. Those are the words that qualify particularly. If not, even the pensioners who are still on some level of stipend might request for. So these are the people. So the community identify these households. Then we have enumerators who go and administer the questionnaire to the various households identified by the community themselves, depending on our description of extremely poor household. Now, then this questionnaire is brought to LEAP in Accra, which is put into a software, which has a weight on every question that the questionnaire has within. And these questions determine, at the end of it, whether you are qualified or you are not qualified. So that's what we call mean test. So when the questionnaire is ranked, then it gives us from the poorest to maybe the richest per the community identification. So now it comes back to resources. How many people have we allocated to a target in this community? 20 or 30 or 50. Then we say, okay, we needed 50 in this community. Therefore, the first 50, who are the poorest, are taken as the potential beneficiaries of LEAP. So these 50, the list is submitted to the Community LEAP Implementation Committee to testify that, oh, these 50 people, truly, they are the poorest. Or somebody has cracked through who is not poor. There's somebody who is poorer than this person. Then that list is brought back to the LEAP office. Then we generate photo album. Because in course of collecting the data, you take a photograph. We generate a photo album for these potential beneficiaries. Then we give them an ID card. And then we produce an ID card for those who are on the list. Then you are due for payment. And that is the enrollment process. Then you are informed by the district social welfare officer together with a clique, that is the Community LEAP Implementation Committee, the household A. Please, per the data collected, you are qualified to receive the grant. And therefore, anytime there's time for payment, we'll inform you duly, then you come to the pay point.
Wow. How long, how long do you stay on the program for?
From the initial design, after 5 years, there should be an assessment. so that people exit or graduate. Yes, and so that is what we are preparing to do in this 6th year of the program. And so you don't live on it because it's expected that the other component of the design program, that is beneficiaries acts in process of receiving the money, you are linked to other social interventions. Like you mentioned earlier, for health insurance, you are registered. And if there is support like farm input support from agric and the household, we have some people able can work, we link the household to them. A school uniform, school feeding, then your children must be in school. So they also get to these schools and have access to these benefits or interventions. So after 5 years, assessment is done, and we realize that no, your level of living has improved, or standard of living for the household has improved. Then it's then that it is a decision, management, the policy decision that no, household A, B, C are now linked to this opportunity. Therefore, they are their own, and therefore we graduate them.
This is really a personal question. I mean, do you find people are desperate to get on it, or people are embarrassed thinking, no, if I go, it looks as if I'm begging for money? I mean, what's the general sentiment towards it? Yeah,
people are desperate to get on it. And that's what we call self-reporting. So you realize that as at the time we start with vigorous publicity, people come over to the ministry, straight to the minister, others to Director of Social Protection, that they want to be on leave because after hearing from radio or watching it from TV and the advert, they realize that there's a need, they have to, because they also find themselves in same categories that we mentioned that we are supporting.
So I come to you and I say, look, I have no food, I have no farm, I have no one, and therefore put me on the list. I mean,
yes,
simple as that.
Yes, people come.
How many do you put on there in a year? Or do you have like a quota a year, or?
Yeah, we have a target.
Okay.
At the beginning of every year, we have our work plan, and then a work plan determined, looking at the resources that government has allocated to the program, and this is the number of people we'll be able to enroll for that year to add up to. So when people come with this description and also to launch upward for enrollment, that is why it's handled by the social workers. We interview you and sit you down, take you to some basic counseling, and get to know that whether you fall within the category of people that we are supporting. And then if you fall within, then we give you the direct procedure which you have to go through. And then usually registration is not done at the ministry level, neither at the department level, but it's done at the district level, as I mentioned, and possibly through the community level. So we'll ask you to first of all get in touch with your district social welfare officer and explain. Then the district social welfare officer will fill the PMT form for you with a social inquiry report backing it. That determines that no, this client...
Is it not too heavy for... I mean, you know, we are talking about somebody who may not have stepped in a classroom before, yes. Maybe very disabled, you know, very stressed. That form and this, I mean, you look at her and you can judge, or you look at him and you can look, this person needs help. So by the time you go through all these assessments, is there no shortcut?
No, there's no shortcut. You know, also to be able to prevent any inclusion error. And no, people can fake, and then not all that glitters are gold. People can appear tattered, but you realize that they are owing cattle and owing farms and all that. So for us to be able to make sure that it gets to the right people, we take it to this procedure, and that investigation is conducted. Maybe your house is at, and then the form is filled on you and is run. And so that confidently, even if you say that, no, I know this person is not poor, I mean, we have evidence to prove, and then justify that, no, by our investigation, this is the right person. So if to choose between the two of you, we will first of all have to feed this person before you.
This is a wonderful program. And while we are thinking of reducing the numbers, because that's the nation's aim, to reduce the numbers, how do we sustain it?
Yeah. Really, sustainability is coming. Government is doing its best. Every year, they increase the budget and make allocation for us. And also, the restructuring of the ministry is also part of it, to be able to have a base a stronger base to handle social protection issues. And that is why the name now is Gender, Children and Social Protection. And so at every annual budget, there is some component in it to help, and some percentage of that sustain it. So what is happening is that we will not be able to get along with it to eternity, but then the other social intervention that are there, that also has a link with the support of the partners, will be able to go further. And so, like I said, there is that exit and graduation aspect. So people who maybe by state of their health are not able to do anything on their own, they are linked with health insurance, and then they will be able to get healthier and start doing or get into some petty trading. But the other are severely disabled, will not be able to do anything. Those who are caregivers, who are taking care of them, who receive the money, will also invest and enter into some ventures. So gradually, we are expanding the base and then also reducing the vulnerability of these households.
What are your numbers now? How many people have you got?
For now, we have 73,780 beneficiaries as we are paying in this 31st cycle payment.
And I know the payments vary, right?
Yes.
So what's the highest and what's the lowest?
The highest is 90 cedis.
Okay, and what's the lowest?
The lowest is 48 cedis.
48 cedis.
Yes.
So what will make somebody get the lowest? Single?
Yeah. It's a monthly allowance, but paid bi-monthly. Meant you are entitled to 24 Ghana cedis as one beneficiary household. And so, but because we pay you bi-monthly, which is 2 months, you receive 48.
Hold on. So that's the household, that's not the individual?
No, that's household. And then we define household by the statistical service definition. A number of people who feed in the same cooking pot. And then by that household must have one of these categories, the 3 categories we have mentioned.
What if they have 2 or 3?
Often, if they have 2, then it means that the household is entitled to 30 Ghana cedis per month. So for the 2 months that we pay, which we call as one cycle, you receive 60 Ghana cedis.
Instead of 48?
No, 48, it means you have only one beneficiary in the household.
Okay, so disabled man, no work. Disabled woman, no work. Looking after 2 orphan children.
Okay. 4 of them in the same house?
Yeah, in the same house.
Then that is 4 beneficiaries.
Okay.
So with that one, you are entitled to 45 Ghana cedis per month.
So then you're better off going to separate houses then, so that they get 48, and then come back to you?
And that's why the investigation is there. That's why the PMT will address that. So when you say the same household, then you see that the software will determine that all these 3 or 4 people are from the same household, and therefore there is a query on it. They will cross-check. But the 4 of you takes 45 for a month, and you are paid for 2 months, which is 90 Ghana.
90.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I mean, I dare not ask for more. It's not enough, but it's better than,
Definitely.
It's better than just staying. So how are they managing? I mean, especially with food prices now, transportation, how are they managing?
Yeah, they're trying to cope. We also have a section for them, which we call Beneficiary Forum. So before every payment, they gather at a pay point. And at that pay point, the social welfare officer, either he carried out the sensitization himself or invites any other expert on health issue, on a Greek issue, on investment opportunity or micro investment or capacity building issue to speak to the beneficiaries or caregivers of these beneficiary households, how to be able to manage the money, and then the areas that are very lucrative or profitable to invest this money so that will sustain them till the next payment. And so they give this education to the households, and that helps them to see how to manage with the money. And then as well also, as I mentioned, the District LEAP Implementation Committee exists with all these stakeholders involved because they belong to other sectors within the district that has something to do with the people involved or the poor. Especially if we take Agric, for instance, they might have some farm input support or some fertilizer subsidy support. And so the committee meets, then they said, okay, with our Agric, we have this opportunity now to support those who are in need. And what happens? Then the social welfare officer make a contribution. Please, can you look up to some of my households? I know household A, B, C, D will be able to do something alongside with it. Or they go into block farming. Then that opportunity, they are linked up to that opportunity. And that helps them end their livelihood.
I'm going to take a break here, and then when we come back, you need to wait 2 months for your money to come. You're looking at 90 cedis per household, or 48 cedis per household. Is the money coming regularly, and how are they budgeting? Stay tuned. Well, social protection, and today we are looking, before we leap, talking about the LEAP program. I think it's a fantastic program, and we have a little insert, so we'll play the insert and then we'll continue our discussion.
Victor Kwade and his wife, Victoria, have been living in this single room at Choco for the past 10 years. Victor has been crippled since childhood, but at 51 years, he has a family of 8, including 6 children, with the oldest being 14 and the youngest at age 3. The 3 youngest children are idling about at home today because they tell me their parents do not have any money to send them off. Belinda, why didn't you go to school today? Victor's wheelchair, meanwhile, can no longer support his commute in the neighborhood because the rubber tubes on the ties have all come off. Victoria, the wife, does not have a permanent job, but goes about engaging in chores for people in the community. The meager wages she gets, she says, is what keeps the family going. For Victor, life has not been easy at all. He talks about his 3-year wait for today's handout.
3 years na independence no.
They are excited to have finally received their 120 Ghana cedis, even though it represents benefits accumulated over 4 months. They, however, wish they would get more.
The
In line with this national social protection strategy, the Ministry of Gender and Social Protection has disbursed some social grants under the Livelihood Empowerment Against Poverty to support the extremely poor, disabled and vulnerable in the population. With the challenge of LEAP not having consistent flow of cash, Sector Minister Nana Oyelitha plans to engage the Finance Ministry on ways to improve the system of payment to beneficiaries. Over 72,000 households are beneficiaries under the LEAP program.
We are expanding. We started with 1,600 in 2008. We are now at 72,000. We're expanding to 100,000 by December and then 150,000 by April 2014. How regularly we are able to pay, I think that is a very big challenge. But we've engaged with the Ministry of Finance and we're working on that.
The LEAP cash payment, which commenced on Monday, October 14, would be rolled out in 100 districts across the country.
Wow. Just funny enough, that was the question I was asking just before we want to break us. How regular do... so if you're on LEAP, you're a candidate, you're a participant, how do you refer to?
You're a beneficiary.
A beneficiary. How often,
every 2 months you are entitled to your money.
And how often does the Finance Ministry give you this money? Are they
like
giving
I said,
you enough? Or?
Like I said, it's budgeted for, and in the annual budget. In fact, the previous years it has not been regular, but for last year, latter part of last year and this year, it's been regular. And so even we pay and clear the arrears in terms of like if we were to pay you 2 months and we're not able to pay that 2 months, in the following cycle, which we call the next payment, we pay you the 4 months. So as we speak now, there is no arrears. Money have been paid regular for this month.
But I saw some of the beneficiaries, wearing weave-ons. I mean, are you allowed to wear weave-on and be a beneficiary?
No. Well, let me explain the category. The people who receive the money you've seen. The program itself is conditional and unconditional. And conditional to households that has orphans and vulnerable children.
Oh, so
Good.
they could not...
Exactly. So you can't pay children, they can't handle the money, so they have a caregivers. That is why social workers are actually the helm of affair, because these orphans, you need to identify who cares for them and be able to establish the fact that these are the real caregivers of these orphans' households. And then per that, these caregivers, you take their particulars and their photograph, produce the ID card for them, then they come and receive on behalf of the orphans. And so, like you can see, even as displayed by the household. So those you've seen in Weavon are caregivers of orphan households. And so the condition that they have is that there are four main conditions, in that the household must make sure that children are in school. They should make sure that they register them with health insurance. They should also make sure that these children have birth certificate. And then they are not involved in any works form of child labor. So these four conditions are there for, and so, initially, but now, we made them aware that it is not a condition that are so punitive, but then it is a co-responsibility for the household to comply with. So that if a household is receiving, and then you are a caregiver, you are receiving on behalf of the child, and then you don't use the money for the child's school fees, for a child's health, for the child's maybe activities to progress, and you are using it for weaving, then the household need to be graduated from the program.
Okay. Yeah. Now let's see your flip chart and educate us a bit more.
Yeah,
about
like we've seen earlier, we saw my sector minister, Nana, and then also with some of them. What it means is that we realize that the majority of the people cannot read and write. So one of the ways that we'll be able to get them understand what actually they are in and how they'll be able to help themselves, with the help of the development partners, we've been able to come out with a flip chart, which we use for the sensitization during the payment, which we call during the beneficiary open forum payment. And so what happens is that we first of all say, what is LEAP? And then you realize that it comes up the definition of what LEAP is about. And then the picture itself gives you the directive to who receives LEAP. And then as you look up to it, you see that then there is some interview going on with the household. Then you are told that the beneficiary in the household need to receive this money to sustain him or herself in terms of food, health, and then also smooth consumption.
Can they use it for business? Like buy sweets to sell?
No, like you even heard from the clip right now, the woman said it's not enough even to invest. And
but
so
they are allowed to, if they could.
Yeah, so it also depends on their environment. And then that again also needs some level of consultation. So you speak to the social welfare officer who might get you a guide that what do you want to invest in it? What do you see about this investment? Is it lucrative? If it is, what will be the return? So that you don't invest in it and you get at loss, then you bounce back to the state in which you were before the support. And it might not help the household. And then also you need to get a balanced food so that the children that are in the household might not get malnourished.
So are you like educating them like
that? Yeah, that's why this is meant. So you realize that in course of the flip chart, the conditions I've mentioned or the co-responsibilities I've mentioned, the child should not be involved in the maybe worst form of child labor, cracking or getting into stone quarrying and all that. And then also we must see to the child's health. And then if he is aged, and the child amount to receive, and even if he's disabled, the child is severely disabled, that child also must be careful. And so this is actually the flip chart that we use for the sensitization, so that you know what to invest in.
What are the challenges? I mean, this must come with challenges.
Good.
Let me put this down. Yeah, what are the challenges?
Yeah. The challenges are in different levels, and I don't know which one you want to.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I've learned so much from you today. I mean, all I know is that LEAP gives money to people who can work, but you've really broken it down. And I've learned a lot about it. Is it transportation to the rural areas? Is it the money coming in quick?
Yeah. So the challenges are there, as you said, difficulty in getting funds to support the program. That is also one factor.
Why don't you set up a lottery, a LEAP lottery?
No, but then even if you look at the lottery law itself, there's some component that supports the poor and the vulnerable.
Oh, okay.
And which again, then the Sector Ministry is working at it to see how government can mobilize all these funds. So
as
you
for
realize
this, I know you can't talk about it, but as for this, every money goes in there and then it's gone or disappears.
Definitely. So that's what I'm saying, that there are some other areas. And you see that they also said it's not enough there to release at the time. And there are several people. You know,
no, so that's what I'm saying. Why don't you set up your own lottery so people stake on a weekly basis, you know, hoping to win something. You get money to support the league.
We're not mandated, you know, the implementing department is social welfare, which is under the government. And so by law, you are not as an MDA under the government to enter into law. That's why it's for lotteries. And lotteries is a government.
I'm just trying to throw something in there. How do we get more money to support it?
You know, like we're saying that it might not be an issue of getting more money per se, but getting sure that these beneficiary households are linked to the other social protection interventions. Then again, that cushions them much more. So that when they get the money, they don't spend the money on drugs. But because they have health insurance, they access the facility, then whatever prescription they are giving them, then the drug is there and they are supply. That take care of their health. But where they have to spend their money again on drug, then in that case, it becomes woefully inadequate. Then again, let's come back to another aspect of the social intervention, which we have labor-intensive public works, where also the community identify that they want to build a school or they want to go into afforestation or build a drainage. Then households that are on leave or communities that are identified to be poorest are engaged and paid on daily basis. And so they are involved in it, they are paid their daily allowance.
That's a good question. If I'm I'm a leave beneficiary,
Yes.
and they were digging the road,
Yes.
and so I went out there and, you know, helped them dig so I get money,
Yes.
do I lose my next payment because I earned some money?
No, you wouldn't lose, because then in that case it means you belong to that household. You know, the categories of people we have don't have the capacity to be able to work, but other members of the household might have the capacity. So it's welcome, and that is why even there is that agreement between the GSOP, which we call Ghana Social Protection Opportunity.
So then, in that case, why don't you give it to the individual rather than the household? So if, let's say, I'm in the house and
Yes.
you know, I'm really hard up, but the other guys in the house are okay, why don't you just give me my 48 CDs? Why the household?
Yes, because the research shows that you are not alone. If it is for you, in fact, we are dependent. You know, with us, our social setting, you are not an island. You live with others. So even we identify you as a household because it's a household grant. And that is why, if not, if we look at the economic strength that we give to you alone, sometimes you might be receiving more than the minimum wage per day. So in that case, we are bridging that we might create dependency. And so it's for a household. And that is identify that at least if you are able to get that for a household, and then the household is able to set up some
Well, surely at 48 CDs, you're not doing the minimum wage per day. It's only 6 CDs a day, isn't it?
No, yeah, but that amount. You see, the others
this is for 2 months.
Yes.
But what I'm saying is, because if you say it's the household, which means the other people in the house are also entitled to eat. If I buy Gary with it, they're entitled to eat.
Yes, they will.
But they've gone out to work. I'm the one who can work.
Definitely. So they come back with whatever they have gone out to work with.
And you
so
eat some of this.
To support the household. Because as at the time that maybe we might not come till the next payment, they might be sustaining the household.
So if you don't give them, they won't give you.
You will not get it. Because definitely, even if you bring yours and we use it for fish, then where is the meat coming from? Then again, if it is for meat, then if you want to buy a fuel, kerosene into the lamp, where do we get that one for?
I don't know if this comes under, but you know, once people are educated,
yes,
the chances of becoming a leave beneficiary is very, very slim. Just if somebody can read and write, you know. So what are we doing to put through, not just enrollment, but you know, the ability to read and write and go through school so that it reduces? I don't know if there's a program to encourage that.
Yeah, there is. You know, even in the traditional social work activity, there are vocational schools, there are technical institutions, alongside even within the ministries. MOU have been signed with the other agencies in terms of health, education, and local government with Agric, so that this other activity, like I mentioned, will get these other members of the household who are capable to work, to get engaged in these very areas. Then they will also earn something to support. I mentioned block farming. And so if the guys in the household who are able to work and they put themselves together, we recommend them, they enter into the block farming. They will be able to earn that support that will help the household. And so again, those who are educated, they are moved on because they get the support from the assembly on the brilliant but needy children. They get the support from assembly, especially those of them who are educated, they are disabled, from the disability fund. So all these other pieces and pieces comes together to support the household, so that you realize with time, the household at least will be able to lift up from poverty.
Family planning.
Yes.
I mean, we watched that candidate there. 8 children. I mean, he's been busy. Yeah. Considering his situation, he doesn't need more than 2 children. Yeah. How are we? How do you tackle family planning?
No,
for them to understand.
With your description, he doesn't need, but society feels that he needs. So he must be able to be recognized. He must also show that he's part of the society, and because it's expected that he should give birth, and then reprocreate, and then again, but as
2, since somebody's looking after you, at least 2, then they'll look after you on the 2.
No, so the program has also designed, and then another intervention that links up that. I mentioned disability areas, I've mentioned health areas, I've mentioned agric area. One of the things that the District LEAP Implementation Committee does is that if we realize that this is a strong social problem in our area, then we pick up those other experts who are good in that area. So with the very area that we've just seen, then the community health nurse will be involved as part of the committee. So they will speak about family planning and give them that guide on the personal hygiene and how they will be able to handle it, and the areas of protection, how to go about it. And then with time, we know they will adhere to it, and then we'll be able to address that aspect. If we get to where there are street children, and so the support also go to even households head who are children, like Kaya, you giving birth, they are young and giving birth to children, then also that issue is also brought to board by the District Implementation Committee. How do we address that? Then they strategize at district level and see how they can be helped.
But Kaya, you don't fall under beneficiary, do they?
No, they are not within the beneficiary. But then the ministry is working around it to see which other intervention that can be opened up to be able to get to them also to be supported.
We're going to take a break, and when we come, we're going to find out if there's going to be a ministry of Kaya, because that's another menace round the corner waiting to explode. Stay tuned. Social protection, looking before we leap, helping the vulnerable in society. Who can say no to that? We definitely should do it. Just reduce the number of vulnerable people, and definitely there are always going to be vulnerable people amongst us, and we have to look after them. Now, another group of people who they aren't necessarily on the leap but are very vulnerable are young girls who travel in from the north to, carry stuff in the market. The numbers, and they seem to get pregnant and give birth, and their children become more vulnerable, even though it's not within you. I mean, is there some plans or something to make sure we curb this thing, and how is it going to?
Thank you very much. Like I said earlier before the break, our sector minister is working hard towards that, because it's also a social protection issue. And so she's working around it and see how we can extend the LEAP, as if possible, to some other areas that may need it. And then also the social protection unit of the ministry will also have a plan for them that will address them specifically. So there are other categories that are being worked on, is in the planning stage, to see how we can get them on board for this LEAP support, especially so that where we have to get pregnant women or lactating mothers or children under 5, so that we can address issues of malnourished, stunting and all that. And so it's part of the ministry's agenda, which my sector minister is pursuing. But for now, not on LEAP, But then the other strategies are to address the issue of the migration and prevent their trafficking and all that is also in progress.
Well, we'll wait for that. I think that we have to have another show all on that. But what are the current developments within the LEAP?
Yes, and I would say is that as LEAP began until last year, it was only manual payment. Manual in the sense that the beneficiary get to a pay point where they are paid by Ghana Post. You thumb print and you are given in physical cash the amount you are entitled to. But from last year, latter part of last year, the ministry began with piloting electronic payment.
Okay.
Electronic payment. So we're piloting it in 9 districts within the country, and it's being done by 3 service providers. One of them is Ghana Interbank, we know called eSwitch. They are using the biometric and then to register the LEAP beneficiary so that they access their money through the device. Then we also have Aya technology. They are also using RF card, which is swap card, and so they are also doing it electronically to pay beneficiaries. And then we have the third one, which is the MTN, and they're also using the MTN mobile money to do payment. They're also piloting in 3 districts within the country. So MTN is in Gan South, which is in Greater Accra, and they are also in Kwawu, which is also in Ashanti. Then they are in Zabzugu, in the northern region.
Kwawu East?
Kwawu West.
Okay. But so what if I get my money and I want to go and buy Yoko Gari? I mean, how do I?
No,
if you pay me electronically and I just need to buy some Yoko Gari.
No, it's just like the way we do our mobile money transfer also. When you get the text message, but now the physical money is not carried to like with the way we do carry in the bullet van and move around. But this one, you see a text message on your phone. All beneficiaries have been given phone. As you see the text message.
Oh, they have phones?
Yes, all of them have phone. We are piloting as we get it. So they have a phone. And so if you get a signal on your phone, then you get to the next agent.
A normal working phone?
Yes, working phone.
So you can call?
Yes, you can call with it. You have your chip, your number is there. So as we speak now, should your auntie be on it and she gives you the number, then you can just call her on the line. And so that is what even enhances our mobilization. And the click members sometimes.
But how do they charge? Some of them won't be able to charge the phone.
Yeah, that is also yesterday we were at Leproserum, Weja Leproserum. And then what happens is that the click, as I mentioned, the Community LEAP Implementation Committee, as we inform them that payment will be tomorrow or next week, then they inform that please, those who are paying will be here on Monday. So Sunday, all of you try hard to charge your phone.
Wow.
Yes. So they inform them and they do accordingly.
And so once the money comes on the phone, I don't know how it works.
Yeah, so you get to the agent or the merchant, and then you have your PIN, which is exclusively to you. Then you mention your PIN. So like the process, you get to my MTN. Then from my MTN, you go to cash out. Then cash out, then they direct you how much money you need. You type the money, your number, then he asks you for the PIN. You type the PIN.
Look, I'm completely lost. So that's my phone. Yeah?
Yes, that's your phone.
So let's say you've given me my 48 cedis.
Yes.
Now I want to go and buy Yoko Gari.
Yes.
How do I?
No, but you first of all need to get to an agent to cash the money.
There's an agent who?
Yes. MTN has a merchant. And usually you see that with the umbrella or wherever it is, and with all the this thing showing the signs that this MTN mobile money spot.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So you get to the merchant or the agent, then to give him your phone.
So he gives you all the money, or he can give you part.
He gives you all the money because whatever any transaction fee is being bear by the ministry, and so it gives you when you are entitled to 48, it gives you 48.
Ah, I see.
Yeah, so with that, then you can now move to buy whatever you want to buy.
But are the agents in every locality? I mean,
for now, because it's pilot, it's not in every community, but then they are mobile.
Okay.
And so as they know that now text message, people wallets have been loaded, then they move.
They move the area.
Yeah, to the community, and sometimes even the wholesale people mobilize and share them into the community and drop them out to carry out the transaction. At the close of the day, they go for them.
I mean, I know I'm asking all these questions, but what if, I have to get 48 CDs and ping, you give me 90 CDs or something like that,
No, that's why the clicks are there. When you get the money, you check it right there.
No, what if I get more than, like I'm only entitled to 48 CDs, but you accidentally give me 90, by the click, are you going to come back and get refund? I mean,
yeah, at the back end, you'll be made informed that the amount you have received is 90 Ghana, but you are entitled to 48. So please, the next payment you will not.
Ah, okay.
So you know that you have received even in advance. And then, but then if you have not cashed out,
is it convenient for the beneficiaries, or they prefer the old-fashioned cash?
Oh yes, it's convenient. It's usually not everybody would like it. It's a new thing too, and then some of them too, with their knowledge in phone and all that. And so, but the majority says that it's safer. And then usually, if people do not know how much you've taken, you go at your own convenience. It's not that they say everybody should come in the morning, and now the people who are paying are here. Anything at all can happen. You get the money. Possibly you move small. Somebody will say, oh, please, can you give me 1 cedi, because if not, next time, yeah. But now they can wait, maybe around 2 o'clock they go for their money, or they go very early and cash their money. So at their own convenience. And that is also some of the response we are getting from the field. But then, because it's a pilot, the evaluation report is ready now, but we yet to, the committee will meet on the evaluation report and come out with the suggestions and recommendations that were made in the report. And then this monitoring has been conducted by Catholic Relief Service on the issue, how the piloting of the electronic and works, and then whether we could go in for any of the services out of the 3 to roll out to the country to other beneficiaries.
Funny, we haven't got enough time, but the clip we watched,
yes,
this guy had 8 children. They won't go to school because there's not even money for them to go to school. I mean, now, as soon as they don't go to school, that's 8 potential leaked beneficiaries.
Yes.
So what's the program doing so that the beneficiaries' children, like those ones, whether they like it, whether they don't like it, they have to be in school? I mean, what are we doing?
Yes, that's
Can we link it to say, look, if they don't go to school, you don't get the money?
Yes, as I mentioned, it's one of the core responsibilities.
Ah, okay.
If you recall, I mentioned that there were some conditions. Initially, you calling them conditions. Yeah, so it's part of it, that the children must be in school. And so definitely, you put them in school, and we also, with our link and advocacy, that the schools in the communities that we have LEAP and identify, they should be on the school feeding program.
Okay.
Then as well, they should also have an access to the school uniform. So, and then those schools also should be able to make use of the capitation grant.
Okay.
Exactly. So you see that all these other things come into play. So it's a multi-sectorial approach to addressing the issue. And therefore, you can't tell me that, oh, maybe my child has no school. But this morning, some of the beneficiaries were saying that they use the money to buy school uniform for their children, some to pay school fees promptly, and even to buy drug when they are prescribed and they say it's not under the health insurance. So you realize that is how we address it. So it comes to a point that the social welfare office or the social worker responsible for that district see to it that this is a peculiar issue. So it needs social intervention. So there is an extra effort for that household by making sure that the children are in school, they are not engaged in any form of child labor, and as well, they have health insurance. So that they speak to the school. We have school social workers. Are you aware of that? We have school social workers.
No.
They are within the GS. And so they also see to it. Possibly you send a child come to the school, always sleeping in the class, having problems. Then that child needs to be investigated. What goes on in the house? When he gets back, what happens to his or her homework? And that is why even the program is under
Which
this
areas
ministry.
have these things? Because I don't have some in my area.
Oh, school social workers is there. And then they work alongside with the guidance and counselors. It's part of the role.
Which districts have them, or which areas have them?
I mean, it's within the GS, all over. Yes, so it's just that, well, that's not my so I can't give you statistics to that. But if you have the opportunity, and just call on them. We have school social workers, and we have special education trainers, or we call them peripatetic teachers, who deal with the children who have mental disorders, who are mentally retarded, all those other activities. So even in a household that we have a child who has any form of disability, maybe possibly learning disability, is referred to a special school and is monitored. And then, so as that child is trained, that address the intergenerational
Felix,
poverty.
on paper it works fine, but how many special schools do we have?
Oh, yeah, we can't talk about it. Well, we don't have enough. That one is true.
On paper, it's a very beautiful system on paper, but I mean, have we even got a good tracking system? You know, to know that, oh, hold on, one of the 8 children never went to school. I mean,
yeah, so we have the clique members as part of their responsibility. The District LEAP Implementation Committee, we have some responsibility for them. The Community LEAP Implementation, they also have some responsibility. One of them is the monitoring. So to check, one, it is also not just making sure that the child is in school, but making sure the child is in school and is retained in school. That is the other aspect of it. So they see to it that the child goes to school and as well is retained in school, and we don't have dropout. So that also addresses the issue of dropout. And then if the child potential is identified, then the child is linked to the other support. You know, the other NGOs are there also supporting. The district assembly also have some support for the needy children. So these households are recommended. And so, but it's gradual. And because the assembly also has...
Finally, before we go, what can community, what can we do to help as citizens? What can we do to help LEAP?
First of all, is also to support in the targeting procedure, and then also be honest, those who are really in need in the community. You know, the approach we use community approach, then we use also the PMT, which is the process mean testing approach. And then aside the geographical one, as we expect there are the other stakeholders. I mean, yesterday we were at Adenkrebi, when you go after Ayimensan at the top there. You know, as usual, community, we met the chief and we spoke with the chief. And the chief said, well, it's been good. You have come. And we realized that since the time we started paying LEAP in the community, some beneficiaries have passed away. Some households are diseased. So we want to support, as part of the effort you are making to clean the register, just produce the register for our community. Myself and my elders will try to take out those who are diseased households that are not there, so that nobody infiltrates the list. So at the end of it, we'll be able to have a clean register. Then we try and see how you can expand it to reach others who are not on it. But it was very laudable. The chief gave this. So I realized in other communities, the other chief will be able to help us if they have this edge. And we need that. And then also the NGOs. And let's open up and educate and be ambassadors for LEAP. They will be able to LEAP all together. That wouldn't have the implication in future because we are not able to support the households to address this intergenerational poverty.
Felix, thank you very much. It's been educative. I'm sure you've learned a thing or two about LEAP. I certainly have. And as you know, one of our social protection series. Thank you very much for watching. And as I say, tomorrow we'll be back to do it all over again. Thanks for watching.